What's your top tip for the students to do a successful assignment in the psychology of crime?
Be familiar with the question. Read the question very carefully and understand what the question actually asks you to complete. Understanding the limitation of the questions, understanding the nature of the questions, because in level 5 the students will engage with different forms of written assessments. So it's very important that they understand the difference between, for instance, writing a report or writing a briefing paper or summarizing. So therefore it's very important for them to make sure that they understand what the question is asking and what is the expectations from that assessment. So reading the question carefully, reading the limitations of the questions very carefully.
Once you've read the question really properly, the next important thing is, of course, to know what to write. So therefore, you've got to read a lot. And my important tip would be you have to read critically. Treat different sources differently, skim read some of them, but then decide which ones you want to read in detail, and then from there move on. So critical reading, I think, is a really important thing for all types of written work that you're going to do for level 5. Sue, can I ask you, please, what do you think students should take forward with them for the next year?
Yes, I think that moving on from what you've said, that you've got to make sure that you are reading the right literature. It should be academic, so therefore you demonstrate this by appropriate referencing, and the more that you do that, the more that you're going to be demonstrating that you've read widely on the topic, because that's always what we're looking for. We're not looking for a demonstration of how much you know, how much you can remember, but literally we're looking for you to tell us how much you've read, and you do that by appropriate referencing.
Thank you. Barbara, please, your thoughts?
Just really following on from what Chama and Sue have both said in terms of the critical reasoning and the referencing, we want you to challenge. Don't just accept things as absolute truth in terms of what your reading is. You're building your own interpretation and you're building an argument. You do that by being willing to challenge what other people have said and use evidence to back up the interpretation you're putting towards something. So it's not simply giving your opinion as to, I think this. The question is, why do you think that? What is the evidence that supports this point? And that's how you begin to build what is critical analysis as you move into your second and third year.
What were you talking to us about toilet rolls?
Oh, yes. If you do not provide any reference, any paragraphing, your answer looks like a toilet roll, endless. It is going page and page and page, and it is really difficult for a reader to concentrate what you are talking about. So please do not write it like a toilet rolls. Proper paragraphing. Thank you.
Super. Coffee, it's a hard act to follow Mookie with a toilet roll. What are your tips?
Yes, Tom, thank you very much. Well, in addition to Mookie's, in developing a good structure for your essay, as well as the content of your essay or assignments, it will be quite beneficial as well to identify the key concepts within the essay question or the topic. So you identify the key concept or the key terminologies, and then read around it. Okay, read around it in a review of related literature. Read around it, and that will aid in providing you with key areas to consider to explore or examine the essay question as a whole. So when you provide these key concepts, it will also provide your reader with an overall view of the essay, even without reading the whole of your essay, without getting it from your introduction. So it does help to bring some content to set the scene for your essay.
Excellent. Last but not the least, Nicola?
Thank you. Yeah, following on from what Kofi said, really, picking out those sort of keywords, those key topics. Guys, don't overthink it. We're not trying to trick you with the questions that we set you. Just read it, pick out those key concepts, and following all of those top tips that we've all kind of given you. If you follow that, follow structure, proofreading, all of that. We're not there to catch you out.
So, Barbara, do you have any tips for students to be giving a successful oral presentation?
One thing I've learned coming from Northern Ireland is that you have to slow down. If I speak at my normal pace, none of you would understand a word I was saying. So make sure you take your time. It's not a race in an oral presentation. Make sure you've practiced it so you can work out your timing effectively. You will be nervous doing it, so less is more. But please do just take your time, don't rush it. Speak as slowly and as clearly as you can.
Excellent. Nicola, please.
Yeah, following on from what Barbara said, practicing your presentation is always a good thing, and you can hear how your presentation sounds. You need to get used to your own voice. Don't be afraid to record yourself when you're practicing, so you can hear how your presentation sounds to your audience. The last thing we want to hear is just someone in a monotone voice reading off a piece of paper. So practice, get used to listening to your own voice back and recording yourself presenting. Can't even say the word. Get used to hearing yourself presenting so you can hear what your presentation sounds like to your audience.
Excellent. And that point about hearing yourself, a killer in a presentation is if your volume is too low, you simply have to get heard. So just make sure you're not mumbling, you're not dropping sentences off. So please keep that spirit up from inside, and then it's really going to come out. You know, so volume and passion, really, these are very important for oral presentation. Feria.
Just following up from what Nicola said, while you are practicing it, it's also important that you time yourself and see how long it takes to complete, because all the presentations, even if it's pre-recorded and then it requires you to upload, it has a specific time frame to complete. So try to make sure that you are managing completing it in a required time period. You're not finishing 2 minutes before and you're not finishing 5 minutes later. So just try to make sure that you are fitting in the time frame and presenting within the time frame.
Mm-hmm. Excellent tip. It's really an issue of disciplining yourself, isn't it? And being self-aware. Excellent. Kofi, please.
Yes, concerning presentation, what I want to say to students here is that, as Faria mentioned earlier on, it's a time limitation, 4 minutes, 5 minutes per student. So students are not required to cover every bit of a topic that has been, or a theme that has been covered under a topic within the presentation, because it leaves limited time to explore some of the topics in depth. So it will be quite a good idea. It's also good to have a structure. You have your introduction, you have your main body, and you have your conclusion. So in your introduction, it will be quite good to highlight some of these examples and then focus on perhaps maybe 1 or 2 concepts and then develop it further within your main body to make good, effective use of the time allocated. And then afterwards, you recap on within your conclusion. And then you have to remember, they still have to use research to construct their line of reasoning, and that is very important.
That's a lot of points, Kofi. Structure, research, but thank you so much. Sue, please.
Okay, well, I think I'm probably going to sum those up, all what everybody has said. So basically, make sure that you realise that there's an audience. So whether that audience is just one person because you're doing it online, or whether it's actually live in a classroom, there will be an audience. And so therefore, make sure that you are understood, whether it's verbally, in how you're saying it, that you're not speaking too quickly, like Barbara said. Make sure that you look good, you know, because you're practicing for a professional setting. So treat it in a professional way, as if you've been asked to do this at work. And lastly, I would like to say that going back to the referencing again, that moving forward in an oral presentation, it's an easy way to start treating your assignment as an assignment, an academic assignment. So therefore, rather than discussing the points in your spoken narration, make sure that you are discussing what you have read, the research that you have done, that you are discussing the literature that you have read. So by integrating it into your spoken narration, and that will help you do a critical analysis of what it is that you have read, and you can then transfer that into your written work in exactly the same way later on. But that's a good way to move forward.
Super.
And that is it.
And Mookie, I just can't wait to hear what you've got to say.
Yes, this time I will remind students the importance of eye contact. When you are doing in live presentation, make sure that you are talking to your audience, you are engaging them by making appropriate eye contact. If it needs to be done via online, I guess treat the camera as your audience and try to look at the camera to give them impression that you are talking to your audience. And feeling confident is another important thing in public presentation. When you are doing a presentation, you can gain that by practicing, rehearsing, and also if you research your topic well, you know your topic very well, so that will boost your confidence because you know what you are talking about, you know what you are saying is very good and covered in the relevant literature. So doing a proper research will boost your confidence, that's for sure. And finally, I would recommend you to watch TED Talks. TED Talks on YouTube. You know, these people are generally very good public speakers, so it will give you some idea about body language and how they address their audience. You know, you can Google and see in an interested topic area what you are interested in. You can see if there is any TED Talk provided and to have some good examples and ideas about how to improve your presentation skills.
Excellent. So great. So oral presentation, it's an embodiment of your research and thinking skills. So quite different to being a very removed piece of written work. So that's the extra added bit that you've got in your oral presentation. So thank you very much to everyone for having given our students really, really valuable tips in such interesting and succinct ways. Let's hope and let's wish them all very, very good luck as they move on to do their studying and their assignments for level 5. Maybe we can give them all a thumbs up to show that we are with them. Bye, guys.